Welcome back, watch people. Now, it's always been my job, or I've always looked upon it as my job, to give you the very, very best watch advice that I possibly can. And I can promise you that I've always done that from the bottom of my heart and from the best of my knowledge. Today, we are going to talk about a consignment story. In fact, we're going to talk about 3 consignment stories, actually, that's happened to me over the last 10 days or so. First of all, apologies. I should have been out in central London this week resurrecting my jewellery and antiquity business. Unfortunately, last Monday I was diagnosed with COVID, tested positive for COVID again, and I've been on my back for the last 4 days feeling like a dog. I mean, I don't know what a dog feels like, but I would imagine something like how I've been feeling, right? But anyway, let's get into the consignment stories. 3 of them, because I think this is very important. And I hope, and I say hope because I know that people don't, I hope that people listen to this very, very carefully indeed and understand what I'm saying and what I'm trying to say with the best interests of all of you out there at heart. Now, over the last 10 days or so, I've been contacted by 3 people, all of whom have said to me, Paul, I need to sell my watch collection. I want to sell my watch collection. I want the best possible price. I want to do it safely. Can you help? We know that you're coming back into the business. You know, we've seen your video. Would you be interested in buying? Would you be interested potentially in selling for us? In other words, consigning. And the answer in every case was no. I'm not buying watches right now. And the second thing is, even if I was, I definitely wouldn't be interested in consigning. Why would I not take anyone's watch on consignment right now? Well, there's 2 or 3 reasons, and I'll go through those with you honestly and carefully. The first reason is that at the moment, even if I wanted to consign, I'm not set up for that. The watches that I have of my own are currently kept in my safety deposit box in Brighton. I don't keep anything of any value at home, and I haven't physically got the safety deposit box room to start putting any clients' watches into the safety deposit boxes. But that's not the main reason. The main reason is I haven't got the insurance. Without the insurance, I definitely would not be touching anyone's watches on consignment because I wouldn't have the right to do that. Even though I could potentially cover that loss if I had to, I wouldn't want to. So if you don't want to take that risk, then don't consign. And that's don't consign with someone that doesn't want to take that risk, and don't consign with someone that doesn't want that risk themselves, and that's me. Okay, let's get that out of the way. So, the question from these 3 viewers were, how do I get the best possible price for my watch, Paul? We've been ringing round. Most dealers right now are either saying a flat no, don't want them. Some dealers are saying yes, we'll make you an offer. And then when they make that offer, the wife has to come along, pour a glass of water over their face to revive them after they've passed out. The other option, of course, is to sell them privately. And that is one option that one particular individual that I spoke to over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, almost went down to his, which would have been to his detriment. Got to be a little bit careful what I say, because I don't want to give anything away for anyone. So let's talk about the first gentleman I spoke to that wanted to sell his watches, and he was thinking about selling privately. He'd actually advertised some of these watches on Facebook and another platform that I won't mention, and within 48 hours he thought he'd had all of these watches sold. Thankfully for him, he was aware of some of the scams that take place after watching this channel in previous months and years, and he very quickly decided within 48 hours of trying to sell these watches privately that all this was going to lead to for him was absolute disaster. So he withdrew all of those watches for sale. That's when he contacted me and said, Paul, what do you suggest? The next 2 guys that contacted me also had, one guy had a relatively small collection, one guy had quite a big collection. Same thing. want to sell the collection, want to sell the watches, what's the best way to do it? Now, let's analyse that. The truth of the matter is, what they're actually asking me is, can I help them achieve an unrealistic price? Now, that's not actually what they're asking me. They don't really mean that. They're not thinking, I'm going to ring Paul up and see if he can get me an unrealistic price for my watch or my watches. But if they analyse it more closely and really think about what they're saying, that is kind of what they're asking me. And I did a video about this a few months back or a few weeks back now, where I said, look guys, despite all the things that have gone on in the watch world, despite all the bad consignment dealers that have, you know, suddenly come to the fore, and there's been what, I think 3 or 4 now, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know. But there's been a few, too many. If it was one, it's too many. But there's been somewhere between 3 and half a dozen over the last year that have gone bad, that have been a problem, mostly within the trade, but some have been more public and have been a problem to their customers as well. Those bad apples, unfortunately, have led to the entire consignment industry, or the consignment platform in many respects, being tarred with the same brush. And that, unfortunately, is to your cost. It's to your detriment as much as anyone else, because on all 3 occasions, these gentlemen that spoke to me asking me for my advice, on all 3 occasions, my advice to them could only really be 2 things. And I knew that they weren't particularly going to like either, but it's the truth. Now, the truth of the matter is this: if you want to sell your watch right now, or your collections, or whatever, you have pretty much 2 options. One of them is not selling them yourself. I count that out as an option in today's world. Unless you know what you're doing, please, can we count out the option of you trying to become a watch dealer online yourself and safely selling your watch? That is an absolute disaster waiting to happen, and it's something that I just do not recommend for anyone. So the 2 options are selling, whether that be by a part exchange or a straightforward offer. Most of the time people want to relinquish rather than PX. So let's talk about the sale. You go to a watch dealer, you want a price. Now, as always, when we sell anything, we want the best price for what we're selling, right? We want to make the most of it. We want to get as much as we possibly can. But that ain't happening right now. Watch dealers do not need to be buying stock right now. They don't need to be buying stock for 2 reasons. One is there's quite a lot of stock out there. If someone rings up and they want, let's just say they want, I don't know, a non-date sub, and they haven't got one in stock, they can get one in 5 minutes from another dealer friend. They can get in one of their WhatsApp dealer groups, and they can pick one up at a fairly sensible price. You've got to understand, as a seller, they don't need to be paying you extra for your watch just because you've been kind enough to go and visit them in their store. There's plenty of watches around. The dealers don't need the watches, and they certainly don't have to lay out top money for them. It's a buyer's market for the dealers and for you guys as well. So that means that the vast majority of offers being made by professional watch dealers and resellers right now are not very pretty, and mostly they're not very acceptable either. Bearing in mind that they've got to make a profit. Shock horror, I know a lot of people that may watch this video hate that. They can't get their heads around the fact that people make money from selling watches. They just hate it. I don't know why. I've never really experienced that hatred in any other business. I don't know car dealers that get hatred because they make a profit when they sell a car. I don't think people go into the local supermarket and hate on the guys behind the counter because that cabbage you've bought, they've just made 50% profit on. But with watches, you're a different kettle of fish. People hate people making profits. Bearing that in mind, they got all their staff, rent, rates, VAT, tax to pay, etc. They need to make money. So the offers aren't good right now. The offers are not good. So my advice at the moment is not to sell. That's the first thing. Don't release or relinquish your asset unless you need to. But if you do need to, the bad news is that you are going to have to wipe your mouth and accept the fact that your watch is not worth what you probably thought it was. If you cannot accept that, now is not the time to be trying to sell. The good news is there is another very viable, sensible and very safe alternative, and that remains the consignment module, the consignment platform. Depending, and this is where I need to be very clear, and anyone getting hot under the collar out there, calm down and listen in the nicest possible way, right? If you've been watching all this nonsense on YouTube, oh, consignment this, consignment that, consignment, etc. Look, you cannot tar an entire industry with the same brush. 2 of those 3 people that called me in the last 10 days wanting to sell their watches couldn't get anywhere close to the amount of money they was trying to achieve for their watches with a straight sale offer. 2 of those 3 have now already sold more than 50% of their watches on consignment at a price they couldn't have dreamed of achieving had they been trying to sell. Over 50% of those watches already sold from 2 of the 3 people looking to sell. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that there are still a big number, the majority of people out there that have been in this business for a long time. And I'll say it out loud, people like my friend Spencer at BQ Watches, you know, and my other trusted dealers that have been out there for years. You can trust these guys. And there are lots of other watch dealers that you can trust with consignment as well. But you've got to obviously do your due diligence. You've got to make sure that they're insured. You've got to make sure how long have they been in business. You know, are they in a physical store? How long have they been around? What's their reputation? You can't just, you know, thumb down the yellow pages and pick a watch dealer and then go trust him with your watch on consignment. That's not the way it works. But what pains me, what upsets me, for you guys, not for me, it doesn't matter to me what you do with your watches. Honestly, look, as much as I care about you guys out there, if you walk outside and throw your watch under a bus, it doesn't affect my life, does it? Let's be realistic. But what upsets me for you is that there's a lot of people out there now scared to consign their watches because of a few bad apples. Will it happen again in the future? Probably. Almost certainly. It will happen again. That's the nature of the business, right? People are going to get hurt in car accidents. People are going to use their mobile phones at the steering wheel. We can't stop bad things from happening, but they are rare. And my message is, if you do your due diligence properly, if you use the right dealers, that is your only chance right now. Right now, today, in January 2024, it's your only chance of achieving the best possible price for your watch, the highest possible price for your watch. Now look, if you don't want that, because I know, watch the comment section, guys, you watch them for yourselves. There'll be people in there saying, don't listen to this guy, you know, he's a friend of the grey market, do this, do that, I would never consign a watch. Fine, absolutely fine, I've got no problem with anyone disagreeing with me, no problem whatsoever. What I'm more interested in is those that are willing to listen and to take the advice. If you're careful, if you use the right dealers, consignment is the best way to achieve the best price for your watch right now. If you don't like that, that's fine. Just be happy to accept the fact that the price that you're going to achieve for your watch is not going to be very pretty right now. The good news is, on the other hand, right, and there's always another side to the story, the good news is it is and remains a good time to be buying. Now, all the signs are, I read a report last week, that for the first time, Rolex prices have actually taken a little bit of an increase. Now, I've got to be honest, I haven't actually seen much evidence of that myself. And a lot of the dealers that I've been speaking to are still relatively quiet. One or two are surprisingly busy as well. But I do think right now that is a good time to go out and attack your AD. I don't mean attack them physically, I mean attack or broach the subject of you trying to get on the list, getting the watch you want. They've been offering some big discounts on a lot of brands. I think those discounts, those sales, New Year sales have now come to an end, but bear it in mind, if they can offer you 20, 30% in January, they can offer you the same in February, right? So I think the discounts are back on for many brands. And I think you can pile pressure on the ADs by asking. Don't be shy. Ask for discounts. My reaction is, I mean, when I was looking for that IWC perpetual calendar a few weeks back, I mentioned the discount and they sort of pulled a face. They went, "You got to be kidding me. You know, there's no way that I'm buying a watch like that without a substantial discount," right? I didn't get it, but it puts it in their mind that people are looking for discounts again. And I think that's important. Right, guys, hopefully you actually get what I'm trying to say here. There's nothing in this for me. You have to believe me and understand that, you know, if you guys ring up Spencer tomorrow or ring up another one of my trusted dealers and consign a watch with them, I don't get paid for that. It's not a bonus for me. It's just my honest advice. I've got a couple of watches for sale right now on my new website, which is paulthorpe.watch. I'll pop it up on screen. I'm going to be selling a few bits and pieces again, mostly jewellery and antiquities. There's a couple of my own watches on there. But if I wasn't selling those myself, they would have definitely been going to Spencer to sell on my behalf on commission, because that is how I personally would get the best price for my watches right now. Right, guys, hopefully this week I'm feeling a bit more like the normal Paul and I can get back out into London and doing what I want to do. As always, I appreciate you watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to subscribe, hit the thumbs up. We'll speak again soon.